There is a specific conversation I have seen play out countless times with men who are either inside a painful relationship or trying to make sense of one that ended. It goes something like this. He knows something is deeply wrong with the dynamic. He can feel it. He has felt it for years. The relationship is costing him his peace, his sense of self, his health in some cases, his best years in others. Every honest part of him understands that what he is living inside is not working and may never work. And yet he stays. Or if he left, he went back. Or he is still sitting with the decision years later, unable to move fully forward. And when you ask him why, the answer is always the same. Because I love her. As though love and the relationship were the same thing. As though loving her meant the relationship was worth continuing. As though leaving would somehow erase or betray what he genuinely feels. This confusion between love as an experience and the relationship as a structure is one of the most costly misunderstandings a man can carry. It keeps good men in situations that are slowly destroying them. It makes men feel guilty for wanting to leave dynamics that have genuinely stopped serving either person. It conflates two things that are actually separate, deeply separate, and understanding the difference between them changes everything. This is Mr. Eugene, and today we're talking about one of the most important distinctions a mature man can make. The difference between loving someone and being in a relationship with them. Why these two things are not the same. What it means for a man who loves genuinely but whose relationship has genuinely failed, and why the clearest, most loving thing a man can sometimes do is leave a relationship while keeping the love intact. Let me start by being precise about what a relationship actually is, because most people have never examined this clearly. A relationship is a structure, an arrangement between two people that has specific terms, specific expectations, specific exchanges. It involves commitments about time, about exclusivity, about how resources are shared, about what each person can expect from the other. It requires ongoing negotiation, ongoing adjustment, ongoing effort from both people to maintain the terms that make it functional. This is not a cynical description of relationships. It's an honest one. And the honesty matters because it reveals something important. A relationship can exist without love, and love can exist without a relationship. These two things are not the same category. They operate on completely different levels and by completely different rules. Confusing them creates a specific kind of suffering that men carry for years, sometimes decades, without ever identifying the source of the confusion. Love, genuine love, is not a structure. It's not an arrangement. It doesn't have terms or conditions or negotiated exchanges. It doesn't require exclusivity to be real. It doesn't depend on the other person behaving in a certain way or meeting certain expectations or honoring certain commitments. Love simply is. It exists independently of whether the relationship is working, independently of whether the other person deserves it by any measurable standard, independently of whether being in a relationship with that person is actually good for either of you. A man can love a woman with complete genuineness, and the relationship between them can still be broken beyond repair. These two realities can coexist without contradiction. The love is real. The relationship is also not working. Both things are true simultaneously. But most men have never separated these two things in their thinking. They learned, from culture, from movies, from the stories they absorbed growing up, that love and relationship are the same territory. That if you love someone, you fight for the relationship. That if the relationship isn't working, the love must not be genuine. That staying is proof of love and leaving is its absence. None of these equations are accurate, and the men who operate by them pay an enormous price. Let me show you exactly how this confusion plays out in practice, because it's important to see it clearly rather than just abstractly. A man has been in a relationship for 12 years. There is genuine love there. He genuinely loves this woman. The love is not performance, not habit, not fear of being alone dressed up as love. He actually loves her, her specific self, her particular way of being in the world. The person she is underneath everything that has gone wrong between them. But the relationship is broken. Has been broken for years. She consistently disrespects him in ways that have not changed despite being addressed many times. The intimacy died years ago, and neither person has been able to resurrect it. They have fundamentally different visions of what life should look like, and those differences have proven irreconcilable. The daily texture of the relationship is conflict, tension, resentment, or simply the exhausted silence of two people who have stopped trying. He knows this. He can see it clearly when he's honest with himself. He knows the relationship is not what it should be and may not be capable of becoming what it should be. And yet he stays. And the reason he gives himself and everyone who asks is because I love her. But here is what's actually happening in that equation. He's using the love as justification for remaining in the structure, as though the presence of love obligates him to maintain a relationship that is damaging both of them, as though leaving the relationship would be a betrayal of the love itself. But the love and the relationship are not the same thing. Leaving the relationship doesn't destroy the love. Doesn't mean the love wasn't real, doesn't betray anything genuine about what he felt and may continue to feel. It simply means the structure, the arrangement, the specific form that the relationship took is no longer serving either person. And that the most honest response to that reality is to acknowledge it rather than to remain inside it, because love is present. Let me go further into this, because there's another dimension that most men don't allow themselves to examine. Sometimes the most genuinely loving thing a man can do is leave. I know this sounds paradoxical. Culture has taught us that love means staying. That commitment means endurance. That a man who truly loves doesn't give up. But consider what staying in a broken relationship actually produces over time. Both people remain trapped in a dynamic that is bringing out the worst in each of them. The conflict, the resentment, the contempt, the distance, these things don't improve through mere persistence. They compound. They deepen. They become the permanent texture of two lives that could have been different if the honest decision had been made earlier. And here is the part worth sitting with carefully. The man who stays in a relationship that isn't working out of love is not actually giving that woman the best version of himself. He's giving her the version of himself that the broken relationship is producing, the withdrawn version, the resentful version, the man who has slowly been eroded by years of dysfunction and who has less and less of himself to offer with each year that passes. Genuine love, if it means anything at all, wants the best for the person you love, not the best version of staying regardless of the cost, the actual best, which sometimes, honestly examined, is not you, not in this form, not in this dynamic, not with the damage this particular structure has accumulated. A man who loves a woman genuinely and leaves because the relationship cannot give either of them what they deserve is not betraying the love. He may, in fact, be honoring it more completely than the man who stays out of obligation dressed as love and gives her the diminished, exhausted, resentful version of himself indefinitely. This reframe is not a rationalization for leaving relationships at the first sign of difficulty. That's not what this is. Every meaningful relationship has difficult periods. Every genuine partnership requires endurance through hard seasons, requires working through things that don't resolve quickly or easily, requires the willingness to stay when staying is uncomfortable. The distinction matters. There is a difference between difficulty that is part of building something real and fundamental dysfunction that no amount of effort or endurance will resolve. Between a relationship going through a hard season that both people are genuinely working through and a relationship that has structurally failed and is persisting only because one or both people cannot distinguish between loving the person and maintaining the arrangement. Clear-thinking men learn to make this distinction, and making it requires separating the two questions that are always running together when this confusion is operating. The first question is, do I love her? This is a question about your interior experience, about what you genuinely feel, about the authentic reality of your emotional connection to this specific person. The second question is this relationship serving either of us? This is a question about the structure, about whether the arrangement is producing what a healthy partnership should produce, about whether both people are growing, thriving, and becoming better inside it, or whether both people are diminishing. These are two separate questions. They need to be examined separately, and the answers to them don't have to match. You can love her and also conclude the relationship is not serving either of you. Both can be true simultaneously. And holding both truths at once, without collapsing one into the other, is the specific clarity that most men spend years trying to reach. Now, let me address what happens on the other side of this distinction for men who finally make it. The man who leaves a relationship while genuinely loving the person he left goes through a particular kind of grief that is different from the grief of a relationship that ended because the love died. Because the love didn't die, it's still present. It's just no longer attached to the structure that contained it. This is genuinely disorienting. He expected that leaving would bring relief from the pain, and in some ways it does. The daily dysfunction stops. The resentment stops accumulating. The slow erosion of himself that the broken relationship was producing stops, but the love doesn't stop. And that can feel like something is wrong, like he made a mistake, like he should go back. He should understand clearly that what he's experiencing is not evidence that leaving was wrong. It's evidence that the love was real. And real love doesn't simply switch off when the relationship ends. It persists. It may transform over time. It may eventually become something quieter, more settled, more like deep regard than active longing. But it doesn't simply disappear because the structure that contained it was dismantled. This is one of the most important things a man can know as he navigates the aftermath of leaving a relationship he still carries love for. The presence of the love is not a reason to return. It's simply the honest reality of what he felt and what remains of that feeling in him. He can honor the love, acknowledge it without shame, and still know clearly that returning to the relationship would not serve either of them. He loved her. He may still love her, and the relationship was still not working. Both things remain true. And both things can be held simultaneously without the one invalidating the other. Here's what I want men in this audience who are carrying this specific confusion to hear directly. If you are staying in a relationship that you know is broken, that you know is not serving either of you, that you know is costing you your peace and your sense of yourself and your best years, and your only reason for staying is because you love her, you owe it to yourself and to her to examine that equation honestly. Love is not a reason to maintain a structure that is damaging both of you. Love is not an obligation to endure indefinitely what should have been addressed or ended long ago. Love is not the same as the relationship, and should not be used as justification for persisting in something that has genuinely failed. You can love her and still leave. You can honor what was real between you and still make the honest decision that the structure no longer serves either person. You can grieve the relationship genuinely and deeply, while also knowing clearly that ending it was the right thing. And if you are a man who already left, who is carrying the confusion of still feeling love for someone you are no longer with, let that confusion finally resolve into clarity. The love was real. It may still be real in some form, and the relationship still needed to end. These things are not in contradiction. The most honest, most genuinely loving thing you ever did for either of you may have been the thing that felt most like a betrayal of love at the time. You didn't leave because you stopped loving her. You left because you finally understood that love and relationship are two different things, and that knowing the difference is not a failure of love. It's one of the clearest signs that the love was genuine. Men, have you ever stayed in something you knew was broken because you confused loving her with needing to maintain the relationship? Subscribe for the honest conversations that give good men the clarity to finally understand what they've been living with and what to do about it.